Gundam.tk presents Real Grade RX-78-2 Gundam. Hey, what's up again everybody? Robert184, this is the Real Grade RX-78-2 Granddaddy Gundam, and I'm continuing a look at the completed parts, and before it's time to put this whole thing together. Now the backpack does an excellent job of looking very detailed and cool. The only problem that I really have is that these thrusters are very easy to knock off, so you're going to want to be a little bit careful with that. But the thing that really won this for me is the fact that they put this white stripe underneath. I actually should have put a little bit more lining inside those circles there. But when you cover it up with the gray parts, you really get this realistic looking feel to it. Different colors abound all over this thing, and the beam sabers lock into place here on a bending mechanism, and you can move them not in and out, but you can move them forward and backwards only, and you've got a simple mount mechanism for putting this onto the waist section. But otherwise, very cool looking, I have to say. Another huge plus for me was the fact that they give you 4 beam sabers, so you can keep them in the backpack while they're in hand, which is, of course, doesn't really look anime accurate, but it's still nice that they give you the option. And you'll notice that they're a little bit different, as this one has a hole in it, and this one has tabs sticking out, which you'll use to put in the manipulators. Now, with the beam sabers themselves, a little bit of shallow, some of these holes here are of different depths, so it's a little bit tricky to get them lined just right, and you'll notice that I don't. And we have these kind of button switches all over the place, so you can choose how to line those if you want to go dark inside or light or whatever. And I chose not to line around these edges here, but otherwise just the amount of details in these simple beam sabers, I think they look pretty good with just minimal lining. And for the beam sabers themselves, these are a huge step up on old beam sabers. Just for some reason they seem to be long, huge, and they've got the right amount of bevel there at the base, which is just going to look pretty cool and anime style. The shield allows the extra vivid red here to really pop out, and it's got again some light channels here, but that's not a bad thing. I chose not to go with black there, I went with the brown, but I put gray of course on all the white other parts. The yellow part here is very sharp. I've seen that some people, when they take their models, that they sharpen this cross before they put it on the shield. No need to do that with the Real Grade because it's already well put together. You have this same red that appears on the waist and chest section there. You've got, of course, the Gundam can peek through there as he's looking to see what's going on at the new riots. And on the back, I chose not to do any lining here, but otherwise you've got a lot of channels if you do want to go ahead and do that. And you have a slide mechanism though, but this feels a little bit loose, so I wonder how that's going to work in practice. And of course you can pivot this up and lock this into the forearm where they've got that slit with the white part underneath. One other bonus in the shield is that you can lock these 2 beam sabers into place. My only complaint about that is that you have to take them off the backpack because it's these ones. So the ones that are going to have the tabs on it that you put in the manipulators can't attach onto here, which is somewhat disappointing because otherwise you could have armed them with 4 beam sabers, which would have been pretty cool. But the beam rifle has a tab on the side here that's going to plug in here, and you'll notice that even though the Hyper Bazooka has a similar tab, it does not fit into the shield. If we were able to put everything onto here, this would sort of look a HG-1100 DX style weapons overkill kind of packing here. Gotta love the beam rifle. The only thing that you may not love is this white handle here, and it's something that I didn't like when I saw it on the box, but once I put it together, I didn't mind it so much. Of course, you're going to want to put a little bit of lining in there just to sort of bring out the mechanical aspect to that, but there's a lot of parts putting this together, and there are no seals or anything to get this effect here. There are channels to get the black lines there, but otherwise you're putting a white ring around this gray block in there, so just right out of the box, without any lining, this would still look very cool. And of course you're able to swivel these things off to both sides. And finally, the Hyper Bazooka is looking really good, and this is something I've always had a big complaint about when I looked at old Gundams, because I love having the white with the gray parts, and just the way they offset each other looks great in the cartoons, etc. But usually you're just going to get a big blocky gray bazooka, but that doesn't happen here with this Real Grade, which really is near master grade in quality. In terms of moving parts, you're just going to have this, which is great though, because then you can mount it above the shoulder and position it just right. But otherwise, you're not going to have any other moving parts, but the little details, again, like this gray part revealing some white inside, the white pegs back here, and the way that they put the rockets on here, everything is looking pretty sharp. Here's how many parts are going to make up the core fighter. But now, how cool is this to have a 1/44th transforming, awesome looking, well colored and well designed core fighter. This is just awesome, and I remember getting the old high grade Universal Century, and you know, just the colors, they just don't really match up but in this case everything is perfectly captured, and you've got landing gear here. The back ones are identical, and the front one is unique, of course. But otherwise, just the way they've got the colors, and one of the things that I was really pleased about, the Master Grade version 2.0 has a sort of double, you pull it out, you pull the wing out, and then you swing it up. So there's this tiny little 2 or 3 millimeter piece here before you get to the main wing, and that falls off all the time. Now with here, you do have a problem because these wings are on very tiny little ball attachments here. So they are easy to knock off, but again, if we had 2 pieces here with 4 ball joints, it would just be all the worse. As far as with the transformation, nothing too complex. You're able to slide this part. Again, they give you the plus of having clear parts here. You plug it in. I should get rid of the landing gear here. And once you've done that, fold that in. Fold this down. Nothing complicated like the version 2.0 of sliding everything into place. And then you can get this out of the way. And voila, you have a core block ready to put ammo inside the Gundam. Now I wonder if we're going to get a real grade gun cannon and a gun tank that we can interchange this with. According to the manual, you are able to take out this inner frame and replace it with the transformed core fighter in its core block form, but when you do that you would lose some of the mobility here from the ball joint, and to be honest, I think this looks too cool, so I'm always going to have this out on display and this plugged in, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. And I know that with the Master Grade version 2.0 you can take out the core fighter and still have just an empty chest cavity, but really they should have given you a crappy looking core block to plug in there. Even though I know we can put it together, it does lose something in the stability, but because they give you the extra parts here, we don't have a problem with this real grade. Finally, however, it is the head of the real grade Gundam here that makes this kit worth almost every penny that you have to pay for it. And the reason I say that is that even if you did no lining here, you are still going to have something that looks just awesome assembled together right out of the box. So inside you're going to have a primarily white inside, and you can choose which different eye stickers. I'll talk about that in a moment. But because we have black parts here, when you put these white cheek parts over it, you still have the white vents inside. The yellow Vulcans are a huge touch. I put some lining in there. You do have these slits are already cut on the front of the mask, so you don't have to put any lining in there. But you do have slightly narrow channels there, which are a little hard to get just right, but I put some black lining around there. But little pluses like the fact that you don't need stickers for these cameras up here. These are red pieces that you plug in on the front and back. Just awesome. Now the other thing that I really liked is the offsetting colors here. You can see a few gouge marks, but just the fact that the head is made out of a different color of white parts, it wasn't something I was crazy about when I saw it in the promo images, but when you actually put it together, it's great. And where you do choose to put in panel lining, they give you nice deep channels, so you're not going to have any problems having this come out just the way you want. For the stickers, you've got a yellow part in the background, so you could choose to put on this black part with the clear eyes. You can also paint it black yourself and then put on these gold eyes, but the part that I put on here is a black sticker that also has gold eyes, and for some reason, I'm pretty sure that that was the right choice for me. So what do you think of the parts so far? I think just based on the build itself, this is already worth every yen that I paid for it. But in general, just the way that the colors work and the engineering and the instruction manual is so well designed that you're not going to have any real problems putting this together as long as you do a little bit of careful reading. But it's the bonuses. Like I started with the waist section and I was just so impressed when I put that together with the different colors of white, etc. And these blue parts here, which I didn't agree with at first, but they tend to look really good when you put it together. The head is the final thing that I built and it looks just perfect. Plus the fact that you get a core block and the core fighter. Really, I don't know what else I can say. Just based on the parts, this kit is already worth it. However, nobody displays just the parts of their Gundam, so we've got to put it all together and see how that looks. So stay tuned for the next part, everybody. Of course, this is Robert184, 2 R's, 2 B's. Hit like if you do, hit don't like if you don't, and comment and let me know what you think of these parts so far, and stay tuned for the next video. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon. Excuse me, but I think you're standing on my stage there. I'll be taking that in the future.